Um, just a few comments I want to make about the trip to DC and a few comments about town meetings yesterday across the state, and I'd love to answer any questions that you have. First of all, it's great to be home. There's no place like home. It baffles me that anyone would want to live in Washington, D.C. I'm grateful to Vermonters for giving me this opportunity to be home. A few things that, some of which you read and some of which you haven't, in terms of the outcome of the trip, which was extraordinarily successful on all levels, that haven't necessarily been reported as I was jogging between airports or whatever to try to communicate with many of you. We made real progress on high-speed rail. And as you know, there are a number of states who are rejecting high-speed rail, made that President Obama is committed to. President Obama and the Secretary of Transportation are absolutely committed to building high-speed rail across America. They understand that with China building 100 new high-speed rail lines, and the United States not building any, that we're going to get left behind as part of our transportation mix. We had very productive conversations in New England governors, which I was honored to be elected vice chair of the association, with Governors Earl Patrick, Dan Malloy from Connecticut, Lynn Chafee from Long Island, John Lynch from New Hampshire, and myself, and with representatives of Governor Cuomo's office, all of whom are committed to working as a team to try and get the dollars that the other states are rejecting so that we can build a high-speed railway from New York to Montreal to this port of Boston. I'm also grateful to Premier Charest for his willingness to cooperate with us, and I think we can make real progress there. As the chair of the committee that's going to be orchestrating our team, which I was honored to be elected to, I will push that envelope with as much speed and vigor as I know how. Second, on No Child Left Behind, as you know, No Child Left Behind is going to be reauthorized. The first thing I suggested to the Secretary Duncan is rename it. It has failed. Relabel it. Because if you're really going to make wholesale changes to No Child Left Behind, which is the only way that it should be reauthorized, start out by showing us that we understand that it's failed, that it's left too many Vermont kids behind, that it's failed too many schools that are succeeding only because they happen to have low income, high numbers of poor students, or high numbers of students who don't speak English. So the Secretary is going to work with us to make the changes that I think Vermont teachers, that Vermont children and Vermont families and Vermont principals want so badly. We got details about No Child Left Behind and we have to discuss them with you. But all I can tell you is the administration understands where it's failing, how it's failing. They agree with me that it's failing, and I think we're going to work together with them to pass a bill that makes sense and leave No Child Left Behind, so that it doesn't keep leaving kids behind. On health care, there's been enough attention to that probably, but I just want you to know how incredibly grateful I am to the President and to Secretary Sebelius for understanding that Vermont is not the only state, but one of many states that will be the pioneers on getting health care right, containing cost, treating health care as a right, not a privilege, and ensuring that we remove health care from the obligation of the employer, have it follow the individual. Ambitious goals, but the willingness of the President to stand behind us, to listen to all 50 governors and say, we're going to give you the flexibility you need, as long as you're not reducing standards, is a huge break for us here in Vermont. And finally, on Vermont Yankee, I spoke to the President about this subject. And what I said was that as a president who supports new nuclear, and he re-emphasized support of new nuclear to me, I said, you know, in order to sell new nuclear to America, you're going to have to deal with old nuclear better. The fact that we're sitting there as an example of Vermont with an aging nuclear power plant, we're going to have high-level nuclear waste on the banks of the Connecticut River for as long as the eye can see. We now learn that the NRC feels that it's up to Energy Louisiana or the operators of your aging plants to decide whether they leave the carcass of the plants in place for 60 years because they've been unwilling to fill up the decommissioning funds and keep their promises to take them away whenever they shut down. We need some help here, Mr. President. I ask you to join myself and Senator Leahy and Senator Sanders and Congressman Welch in giving the NRC the authority to determine whether plants leave their carcasses there, whether companies leave the carcass of the plant there for 60 years, or whether it's taken away on time. This is a huge jobs issue for us. And the whole focus of our trip was jobs. But this is all about jobs. And in Windham County, the difference between having a plant sit there for 60 years or keeping the promise, spending $1 billion over the next 10 years, decommissioning the plant, maybe more than 10 million, and $1 billion, is a huge difference to us in terms of job creation and economic opportunities in Windham County. So I was grateful to the President for saying, hey, we'll look into working with you on that. On town meetings, just a couple of comments. I think it's worth noting that I'm incredibly grateful to our hardworking school board members, to everything that turned out at town meeting, to our select boards and municipal leaders across the state who listened to Vermonters. And what they did was they passed more school budgets yesterday than at any time in the last 20 years in this great state. The average increase was a decrease of 1% across the board. Only 3 school budgets failed in the towns of Grand Isle, North Hero, and Miller's Run. We have 2 not reporting yet, Granby and Victory. So assuming that Granby and Victory passed, there are 3 that failed. You know, I just want to say that I believe, as I said so often recently, you get more with maple syrup than you do with vinegar. And the fact of the matter is these school boards have worked hard in light of rising healthcare costs, rising fuel costs, and rising staffing costs to do an incredible thing. For the 2nd year in a row, not only level fund, but actually reduce their annual budget increases. So I called for an end to the war of words from Montpelier over the last 8 years that has pitted school board, has pitted Vermonters against teachers, against kids, against school board members. I think there's proof that our approach of working collaboratively with our local communities to help them reduce costs, get taxpayers a better rate for their buck, is good work. Be happy to answer any questions.